all the way from New York City. Yeah,
The big city.
he has a cool accent, and he also knows a lot of stuff. And I think it's going to be fun to have him. He is called on YouTube Aaron Short Music, even though he's really tall. Actually, in real life, he's actually very tall. But his name is Aaron Short Music. So we'll get to him in just a few minutes. Yeah, I think it's going to be kind of fun. We're going to enjoy having him around, I'm pretty sure. As always, Leslie's with me here running the old comment stream over there, and also the cool surprise noises when we get super chats and etc. Somebody already said it in the comments, but please make sure you hit the like button. I figured out that the like button is more important than anything else.
So are you using it more?
I am using it with other people more too. I am hitting the like button on other people's videos more, because what happens is that tells YouTube that people like the video, or they like the subject of the video.
Audio weird?
Somebody said the audio weird?
Is he using an octave pedal? What does that mean? Does it sound funny?
I don't know. Let's
Totally audio, but... Oh yeah, we sound terrible.
well, that's weird.
Sorry guys.
One moment. We have to get this fixed before we have a guest, I would say. Before we get check.
Let's try that and see if that works any better.
You sound like a space robot.
It seems to.
Yeah.
Okay. The only thing I worry about with that is hopefully the mouth and the sound lines up properly. Okay.
Alright, I wonder what happened to your mic.
I don't know. That's weird.
What'd you give for changing it?
I know, because I literally was messing around with stuff today, trying to figure out various other options for audio, and
Anyway, thanks for being here and telling us.
yes, I appreciate that very much.
We'd
So
have just kept going.
basically, I apologize for the quality of the audio now, because we're actually just using the laptop's microphone, which I don't normally like to do, but it's better than C3PO or robot noise. So let me start again. I don't know how much we missed. So basically, we have Aaron Short coming on, which is pretty cool, from Aaron Short Music. Again, he's very tall. He's probably here in the comments, or he will be in a few minutes. We have a couple of questions that we need to answer that people sent in from Patreon and from YouTube members. So we always give them priority. And then once we get our conversation going with Aaron, we have an interesting subject tonight about buying guitars and how buying guitars has changed. We'll get into how that all came about. We met each other in Nashville at NAMM, so very, very cool. It was a lot of fun. One thing before we go, I'm just going to do a little bit of housekeeping sort of ad kind of thing. This video is not sponsored. However, everybody for the last 2 years, since I quit making cables, has been asking me, what cables should I buy? Are you going to start making cables again? Etc. The answer is no, I am not going to make cables anymore. But when I was in Nashville for NAMM, I was introduced to the coolest dude that makes cables in the world. They're called Runway Audio. They come in some colors and some lengths and some stuff. My cables were 21 picofarads per foot, and I thought that was the best.
Mm-hmm.
These are 20 picofarads per foot, and the construction is amazing. And
That's that's so loud?
Oh, we have a super chat. It's
I'm
probably
gonna
going to
turn
be
that down.
really loud now that the
Oh, it's
microphone is right here
closer.
too. So we'll finish telling you about the cables in a minute. Let's handle the super chat first. This is for all you both do for all of us. Thanks, Thomas. I appreciate that very much. Thanks for the
Thanks,
super
Thomas.
chat. Awesome. And you get a crazy noise when you get a super chat. That's how.
Yeah.
And we put
Even
you on the
crazier when I can't make my finger work fast enough.
screen. Right? Anyway, these cables are amazing. They have I think they're a lifetime warranty, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
They come in different. He does custom pedal board wiring. Like you can buy a pedal board, have it sent there. They'll wire your pedal board up. They make patch cables, all that kind of stuff. There's a link in the description of this video. You can go down there and use that link. And if you put Dylan Talks Tone in the referral code, you get 10% off everything. So very cool. The dude's awesome. The cables are awesome. I've basically switched. I don't even use my own anymore. I've switched totally to these, and they are really, really good. And I'm hoping when we're in Nashville next week that we will be able to shoot some stuff at his studio there in Nashville. So I'm super excited about that. I see Aaron has joined us. So what we're going to do...
See, we have friends of Aaron joining us,
Oh, sweet.
too.
Awesome. Very cool. So we do have a couple of questions that came in from Patreon. I wanted to handle these, and from YouTube, join folks, the little join thing down there. I wanted to handle these before we started our discussion with Aaron, because the last time I had a guest, we kind of missed some of them, and I didn't want to do that anymore. So this is a question that came in on Patreon or on over YouTube. Are there any body colors that a mint pick guard doesn't go well with? I think the answer is no. I think mint is probably the most. That's my opinion.
Versatile.
That's a funny question. I think that was just like I have
a pick guard.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Everybody knows that. What color should my pick guard be is like
super popular question.
Super popular
online.
question in every forum and everywhere. Yeah, kind of funny. Second one though, how do you tell what type of Strat trem arm do you need? USA, import, or pop-in? That is a very difficult question to answer, and the only way to answer it is to measure it and to figure it out, because Mexico ones are different from Squire ones. Squire ones are different from American ones. And not all pop-in ones are the same either. Like a hip shot pop-in is different from like a Clusen pop-in. So you really have to know, you have to do some research and get that right, because it's not, it used to be kind of a generic thing, but it's not anymore. There are so many different manufacturers, and the problem is that even the major manufacturers like Fender may not always get their parts from the same place, especially if it's like a particular Squire line. So like a Classic Vibe Squire line versus the Affinity Squire line, they might come from different factories in different countries, which means that they will source different parts. So it's not always the easiest thing to figure out which one you need. I know that's a terrible answer because it's not the answer to your question, but I don't think people realize how big of a deal it is that they switch parts vendors all the time. So it's something that you should know. Yeah. And then Ivan, this came in at the last minute. Ivan asked me about magnet length for P-base bobbins. I use 0.630 on mine. But what I want to know is, what P-base bobbin are you building? Are you building the 51 P-base that looks like the big Strat single coil? Or are you building like the normal split humbucker style for like a precision bass? You know what I mean? So get in the comments and let Leslie know, and we will figure that out. Yeah, cool. Let's I'll tell you what.
It's not stubby beer. It's nitro coffee, by the way.
Oh yeah, she's drinking coffee and I'm drinking water.
Somebody said stubby beer and tone talk, and I was like, definitely cold brew, nitro coffee.
She was taking a nap till
I
like
need to
10
stay
till,
awake.
so yeah.
Or wake up, or both.
We've had a busy couple weeks, and so we're still kind of catching up. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's get Aaron in here. How about that?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. How are you,
Uh-oh.
sir?
We have echo.
Uh-oh.
I didn't think of that because you're not wearing headphones out there, are you? Obviously.
I am not wearing headphones. We should probably fix that.
Yeah.
Hang on. Where are they? Yeah, I didn't think of that.
Technical difficulties.
I know the wonders of
Already
live
had- We came
streaming.
on sounding like robots tonight, Aaron.
It looks great. I like the background and everything, but we're getting the echo.
Yep.
I might have to reroute my audio too. Give me 1 second. Just give me 1 second here. Speaker. All right. How's that, Aaron?
Testing, 1, 2, 3. That's
yeah,
perfect.
that sounds great.
Awesome.
Okay, good. The only downside, maybe you can put your headphones. Or are you just going to go sit over there? Okay. So we're just going to change up our setup here real quick. How's it going, man? I watched your stream earlier.
Thank you. I thought that was a good segue into what we'll talk about tonight, about the YouTube reviews, because that
Yeah.
was basically a live YouTube review, and
Yes.
and
Yes.
about the worst product you could possibly review, which is headphones on a live stream. But I think
Yeah.
that will some of that will lead into our conversation later. It'll be cool. But no, it was so great to meet you guys in Nashville. What did you think of the? How was your trip there? What did you think of the NAMM show?
Well, obviously the NAMM show was a lot less than it's been in the past. I don't know how many of you have been to, but it was the worst one I've ever been to, understandably. The cool part, though, was to be able to actually have proper conversations with people and like not be screaming your head off. I don't think I got sick afterwards. I still had a voice. You know, you could have a proper conversation with people. It was pretty awesome for that. And I did get a lot of things done as far as, you know, accomplishing meetings and various things like that. But it was not normal. It was not normal.
Yeah, I saw a few people say it was bad and it's the end of NAMM and things like that. I thought that was not really fair because it's impressive to me that they did it at all. And like you said, I think it was more of a social occasion, wasn't it? It was more like a get together, hang out. I hear there was lots of parties and things. I think it was more of a social get together than a trade show, to be fair.
No, I agree. And I actually kind of liked that environment, which is kind of an interesting kind of what we're talking about tonight. And so for those of you that are watching, Aaron and I had corresponded before about various stuff and of course follow each other on YouTube and all that, but I got to meet him in person. We actually ran into each other at Gruen's, I guess, right? We ran into each other at Gruen's Guitars.
Yeah.
And got to talking, and actually we went over to Guitar Center too, because you were shopping for a guitar. And we got to chatting about how the guitar business has changed and how you shop has changed. And I really feel like since the COVID started and everything, I feel like what has inevitably been happening to the guitar industry got accelerated because of COVID, as far as how people predominantly buy instruments and how, because they're trying to do everything online, you know, and not do anything in person. And also, I really think that is a direct effect on why a lot of manufacturers didn't even go to NAMM, because I feel like maybe some of them didn't need to because they were selling a lot of guitars online.
Well, also, there was basically like one new product release, right? So it's not like anyone had anything new to announce. Like Martin Guitar had nothing new to announce. They were purely there to be a part of the event. So I feel like it would have been maybe a waste of money for some companies to go, to be fair. And I think companies like Martin went because Chris Martin is still is he the president of NAMM? He's now stepping down from that. So they went to sort of show support for that. And then I think some vendors went because I think it was slightly discounted as well because of the situation.
Yes,
So
I believe so.
I think it was more about that. I just don't. It wasn't the event where you're going to see a Helix 2 and a Kemper 2 and all this kind of stuff, right? It wasn't. It was never going to be that. But yeah, to be fair.
So you were shopping for a guitar.
Mm.
You didn't find it, right?
Well, this is what happened, and this is maybe we can talk about this.
Okay.
I went to the Martin booth because I'm a big Martin fan. We do a show about it on Mondays about Martin guitars, so I was around there a lot, and they had one of those authentic guitars, which is basically built to the 1937 spec, okay, as close as it possibly can be, and aged as well. Now, in the past, I've said I don't like those because they got the kind of chunky neck on them, and they got the relicking. I'm not sure what people think about relicking acoustic guitars. It's not really my thing, even on electric guitars. But I just thought it looked cool because I'd love a vintage Martin, but they start at like 32 grand for the golden era, right? And I just pulled it down and I just strummed an open chord and I just went, I love this. I love this guitar. Now, that's the thing you cannot do right now buying online. And even though we do these live streams and live demos and everything, you're hearing that guitar through a mic, through the computer, through the in-ear monitors, whatever. You're not actually playing it in the room. And I'm the same with amps lately as well. I love playing my amp in the room. And that was such a great experience. And even in that big hall, I connected with this instrument. That's something that you can't really do. Even though like Sweetwater has pictures and the weight and everything, you can't see if you connect with that instrument. And I thought, man, I miss this. I miss actually connecting with something and then wanting just to buy it on the spot. But of course I couldn't because it was the NAMM show and they were going to a dealer. So and I'm not sure who the dealer was. So that's why I met you. I was in Groon actually looking at vintage Martins and other guitars too. But I tried some great guitars there. Same thing there. I played a few that I loved and I almost would have bought apart from maybe the color, whatever. And I also played some guitars that didn't really do much for me. So I think it makes sense that everyone's buying online. And if places have a good return policy, that's fine. But there's nothing like actually going to a store, talking to the owner, like I was talking to George in there, and finding the guitar, connecting with it and buying that instrument. But we don't all have the luxury of doing that, do we? We were in Nashville. Nashville is the home of the guitar store. So we don't have that luxury. But it just reminded me about that. I saw people in person and I also played instruments in person. It's a different experience, the whole online thing.
It's funny you say that because I bought that Gibson and for the same reason. I went in there was an experience. There was a good in-person experience. It got me in the mood to buy a guitar. So I went back and I bought a guitar. I've been eyeballing those things online for years and I've been trying to buy a vintage one and that SG thing I got but everything came together and I think it's because of the in-person buying experience that I had. I was just like, oh wow, now I'm in the mood to buy a guitar. You just don't get when you're sitting here typing on the computer or reading YouTube videos.
No. And you don't know what you're going to get online, do you? You never really know what's going to show up. And what if you can't return it? Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's two sides to this. I like buying brand new stuff online. I don't like kind of center guitars where they've been played by a million people necessarily. You don't know if they've been humidified correctly. But the Gibson garage is a different level. Everyone's got to go there. What a great place.
Oh man. Yeah.
I wanted to buy 335 another Gibson acoustic and make a custom Les Paul while I was there because I was just blown away. And they were so friendly and so down to earth. I mean, I don't know if they're working for commission or whatever, but they were just so. It just you want to be a part of the whole Gibson thing, and they're killing that. I wonder if the other brands like Martin are going to try to do more of that kind of thing.
It's so funny because I made a couple of videos about this experience and I got so much hate in the comments because of people saying what they're going to say about Gibson. And I'm like, no, I'm trying to tell you this is different now. And I actually, because of what I do, like on the pickup side and stuff and some other things I had going, I got to meet a couple other people. I got to meet the guy that runs the custom shop and runs that whole made to order deal that you're talking about. And also I got to meet somebody that works in product development for pickups. And they both told me on different days in completely different locations and conversations, they both said the same thing. And they said, JC Curley walks around every day, talks to every employee, has a conversation with them. How's it going? And when he has an idea, he runs it by the lowest guy on the totem pole all the way to the highest guy on the totem pole and really takes that input. Like he's trying to really improve things. And somebody told me, one of the guys told me, I won't tell you which one, but he said, the only time Henry ever came to my office was twice in 15 years, and it was both times to fire somebody. Yeah. Like the entire thing had changed. And what JC Curley told me was they wanted that place to be a model for how all the other dealers should represent, because they want to bring that experience to all their dealers and encourage more in-person buying. Makes total sense.
The main reason I like Martin guitars is the history. That completely sucks me in. There's so many Yamahas I play that are amazing. Some of those Yamahas are absolutely out of this world for the money. They're incredible. Some of them are better than high-end instruments, but I don't feel a connection with the brand like I do with Martin. With Martin, the factory's nearby us here because we're in New York, they're in Nazareth, and that history of Johnny Cash and Paul McCartney and going back to 1833, that just draws me in. That makes me want to like that brand. But Gibson, I mean, I'm not saying I don't like the people at Martin. I've got a lot of friends there, but people at Gibson, that experience, and to be fair, actually, I should add this. Martin do a factory tour, which is similar kind of vibe. In a way, it's better because you're actually touring the factory. But the actual Gibson garage is just like the ultimate guitar store, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And I think all the brands should do that. And the way they're so available and accessible is just really, and let's face it, it just makes you want to buy a Gibson. And that's exactly what you did. It just makes sense.
I'm learning that as I'm doing this, there's a couple things. There's two things. One is I'm learning that I enjoy that kind of experience and a connection with a company. Same thing with McPherson for me. I play that McPherson carbon fiber guitar, and it's because watching all the videos, learning about the company, learning about the history of how the products were developed. It's just like 23 people or something in a small building in the middle of Wisconsin. It's like there's a story there that I really like, that I feel like I'm supporting, cool people. And then on the flip side of that, I sell products. I make pickups for a living. Like that's my real job. So I try, and I'm learning how important it is every day to create that experience for everybody else. I mean, that's why we do this stuff. That's why we do all these videos. That's why we talk about how we make the stuff so much, because I want to create that kind of experience for my customers too. I just hope it continues to spread like that. I love that.
I'm just adjusting my mic because they said I'm louder than you are. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
You sound fine. I think it's probably because I'm using this computer microphone.
Okay. No problem. Yeah. I'm eating the mic as well. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I didn't realize that. So you're selling pickups, so you're creating a brand through the YouTube channel, and then people want to play your pickups because they know you. That totally makes sense.
That's why, right? And that's why I do the live stream every Thursday, because I feel like we're building relationships here. It's not just about making a YouTube video. It's about, all these people, Thomas, and some of these people came from your channel. There's Brett is here, Mike, Benjamin's Guitars, Thomas, Lee. There's a bunch of folks, Thomas Tourville. Like some of these folks are multiple time customers of mine, people that have been following the channel for a long time. And then it gets to the point where you're like, well, we live in a motorhome and we drive around the country. So now I'm like, now I want to stop and meet these people. You know what I mean? Like you really want to make a connection. I love that.
You're kind of doing what Gibson are doing, or they're doing what you're doing in a way, right?
Yeah.
They copied you.
Yeah. I don't know about that, but yeah. No, that's exactly. So what do you buy online still? I know you buy gear online. So what do you buy online still?
Everything. I haven't bought anything from a store since before the lockdown, the pandemic. It's I mean, with some stuff it's fine, isn't it? With strings and things like that, it's really amps and instruments. I mean, amps are the one. Amps are a pain in the butt. Because if you've got to sell an amp on reverb, that's just that's not fun, right? And then guitars are the same. Like I was thinking today, like I was looking at Strats, and I was comparing my Strats here today, and I was thinking like, well, the necks feel so different, the frets feel so different, and then aside from the action out of the box, which can be adjusted and tweaked, like the shape of the neck. How do you know that from looking on Sweetwater? What that neck is going to feel like in the hand? That's so important to me. It's everything.
Yes,
Right?
agreed. Yeah, agreed.
How do they put that across in a video? It's just impossible.
Right. One of the things we try to do in our videos is explain all those technical, like when you have this size fret, this is how it's going to make it feel. But you still can't you have to go experience it. You have to go try it. Yeah, you can't learn that stuff online.
Especially remember, if people are watching, they're new to that instrument. Like I'm very familiar with Martins and Strats, right? So you could say to me, well, this Strat has a kind of a deep C, and I'd be like, well, I think I know what that is because I've played that one. But if we start talking about Les Pauls or Jacksons or something, I would have no point of reference. So that's why it's so hard to communicate that. One cool thing about the custom shop they had at the Gibson garage is they had every neck shape in the drawer, so you could feel every neck. So you can't do that online.
Yep. And what Dylan told me is he actually shows people the neck shapes, but then he said even that's not good enough. He takes people out to the guitar that has that neck shape and says, here, actually play it with strings on it. You know, the neck shape thing's funny. I'm a C or slim C guy most of the time because I'm mostly a Fender guy. This is my first Gibson. And this is a perfect example of what you're saying, because on paper, I want jumbo or medium jumbo frets, period. I'm a big fret guy. Well, of course, this Les Paul Jr., being a student guitar, has little baby frets on it, so I thought I would hate it. But I love it. So, yes, I think I want something because it's what I heard online or it's what I watched in a YouTube video, but then I go and I play it in person and I'm like, oh, I actually kind of like this. And on paper, I shouldn't like it. Again, got to do it in person.
Like that Martin, everything on paper, not what I would look for. I just love that guitar and I wanted that guitar. And then Tommy Emmanuel played it and I really wanted it. Because then I had an emotional connection. It was at the NAMM show. My friend Maury was there that I do the Monday show with, Maury Rutch from Maury's Music. And then Tommy played it. And Martin, I was talking to Martin, I suddenly had this different connection with the guitar. Like that's a special guitar now. It's not just any guitar.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting that when you think that deep about it all.
Acoustics are terrible about that too. You know, then we went to Guitar Center and you were playing that one guitar that was like torified and a little bit relic and stuff.
It's the same one, yeah.
And I saw it from 6 feet away and I'm like, by all accounts, spec, I'm a Martin guy too, before I was a McPherson guy. And I should love that guitar. And you handed it to me and I played 3 or 4 chords on it and I was like, like it's kind of funny. You have to have that connection, otherwise it just doesn't work.
But I'll just defend that with some variables though, like how old it was in Guitar Center, and I buy stuff from Guitar Center. I don't mind Guitar Center, but a lot of hands are touching those guitars. I don't think they really humidify properly. If they do, people leave the door wide open half the time anyway. That guitar could have been swelled with humidity with dead strings for all we know. And so that can make a big difference too. Where again, somewhere like Gibson, those guys and girls that work there that play guitar too could be like checking those guitars out, checking the strings are okay, restringing them, stuff like that. So that's really important as well.
Yeah, that whole create an experience thing.
Yeah,
and it's funny because my last 2 acoustic guitars I bought through the mail, and I got lucky. Well, the carbon fiber one, if you buy a McPherson, it's going to be perfect. They are like just above and beyond with their quality control. And of course it's carbon fiber, so it doesn't matter because it's not going to move. My Breedlove, previous to that, I was very, very worried about it. And it came straight from Breedlove. And I got it and it was amazing. And it's still to this day, I will probably buy that guitar back at some point. It is that good. But that was lucky. That doesn't always happen. And rarely actually does it happen with an acoustic, for sure.
Well, I actually I overheard a company talking about this. They said when they ship things, they have to allow for variables in the tops, because even when they ship them from the factory out to distribution, the top can move. So they're always thinking ahead. Like people keep saying to me, "Oh, Martins are so hard to play compared to other guitars." I always say they used to be. Now they're using the Plek machine. They're actually setting them much lower from the factory. But I think most brands set the action higher because it's easier to lower the action than to raise it, right? So
Right.
that's kind of a common thing. I think a lot of those manufacturers are thinking like that. They ship them a little bit high because they're going to change in shipment. They're going to change in the person's house, and then they can adjust it from there. I think you made a video about this, right, with your Gibson. The adjustment really is part of the process, unfortunately. I wish it
Yes.
wasn't, because when a guitar shows up and it doesn't feel quite right, I wonder how many people send those guitars back. Like, oh, it doesn't feel right, I'm just going to send it back. Where a slight setup would have made a huge difference.
Yeah, I agree, and that's something that I think I've been talking about it a lot lately. That setup on the shop side or the end user side, to me, that's part of the purchase experience. Whether I pay for a setup afterwards or I have the shop do it for me, that is to me an expected expense to get a setup. Like, a guitar comes in a static setup, but that doesn't mean that guitar is going to play well for me,
Right.
because it may play well for you, but I'm going to set it up different than you are. It's an individual thing, and that has to be, to me, that I factor that in. And I think a lot of people chalk it up to poor quality control, but what it really is that final step of that setup for the end user has not been done yet. That's the way I see it.
Totally. But then the problem is finding someone, either learning to do it yourself, which is the ideal situation, or finding someone you trust to do it. Because even though I'm in New York City, it took me a long time to find someone. The guy I go to now is fantastic, and he knows what I like. I always say it's a bit like finding a hairdresser. You know, like, okay, what do you want me to do? I don't know, just make it look good, right? Like, it's the same with a guitar. Okay, I'm gonna set up your guitar. How do you like it? Just make it easy to play with no buzz. You know. How impossible is that to do? Like this, actually, I think this is the gold right here. Like, I think the guitar is 50% and the setup is 50%. Like, getting my Strat to stay in tune with the bar and everything. If it stays in tune and feels great and doesn't fret out and doesn't buzz, that's like an amazing guitar to me. But that's not easy to do, right? And that's a moving target, and it's all personal preference. So, do you think that people should learn to do this themselves, or should find someone they really trust? And if they find someone they really trust, how do they do that? How do you find someone that does this stuff really well?
So we spend a lot of time on our channel teaching people to do their own setups. We have Patreon stuff about it. We have videos on the channel about it. Like, that has kind of been my thing for a long time, because I think everybody should learn to do it themselves, or at least understand. It's like a race car driver. A good race car driver isn't going to just pull into the pits and say, the car sucks. They're going to be able to say specific adjustments that they think need to be made. So what we try to do is we show people and teach people about all the aspects of it. So even if they don't feel comfortable doing their own setup, at least when they go to their setup guy, they can say, you know, the third fret is doing this, and then it's doing this down here, and they can literally really explain to their setup guy, even if they don't do it themselves. I want to help people understand that, because it's tough to just be like, I don't know, make it good.
Exactly.
You know?
No, you're right. That I feel like a lot of luthiers don't do that. It's like almost like magicians don't want to reveal their secrets, kind of thing. In a way, it kind of makes sense. But I did one where I showed how to adjust the truss rod on the Martin, because for me, that's really, when the guitar arrives, a little truss rod adjustment can make and break everything, make it perfect. And then a lot of people in the comments were saying to me, "Oh, you shouldn't tell people to do that. They should take it to a luthier or whatever." I think these guitars should ship with a good truss rod tool, not the cheap ones. It's like a good one, like the is it Cruise Tools? They're at the show with the big handle on it. You should
Yep.
they should either give you one or give you a link straight away to where to get one, because you're going to have to be adjusting that thing. And I think that should be just basic stuff. I think, like the truss rod on Strats and acoustics. I think it's really really important stuff, and no one does it. And that they've made it kind of scary for people, haven't they? Well, you can do it, but be careful, you know.
I've gotten kicked out of just about every guitar maintenance luthier builder group on Facebook, and I've gotten nasty messages for years. You can't tell people that, blah blah blah. You're gonna dip into our, if you teach people this stuff, then you're gonna cut into my business. And I'm like, no. The more you teach the end user, the consumer, the guitar player, the more they're going to want to play guitar, because the more comfortable they're going to be. They're going to buy more guitars. They're going to bring more guitars to you. And my experience has been, especially like with the pickup stuff, because I mean, I'll show you how to wind a pickup right now. I mean, I'll show you everything. And everybody's like, well, why are you because you're not going to buy a pickup winder. And once you see how difficult it is, you're not going to want to do it yourself, and the cost that is involved in buying all the right tools. But when you have a firm grasp of what it is and how it works, you're going to be a better guitar player just knowing, even if you don't do it yourself. So I'm all about it. Teach everybody everything.
You're right. And at the end of the day, only people like Thomas, Lee, James, everyone in the chat, we're going to want to look into that and learn to do that. But most people that are playing probably won't want to. It's not everyone's going to suddenly become a luthier overnight, start building their own guitars, are they? Exactly. It's just like people need to know the basics and not be afraid of stuff. Yeah, like I said earlier, I just wonder how many guitars get sent back because it doesn't feel right when they play. The action's too high, and ship it back. I wonder how often that happens, where a simple tweak of the truss rod could have fixed everything.
If my comments over the last 2 weeks on all these Gibson SG videos are any indication, I think it happens a lot. Because what I see people, because of course people have this whole thing about Gibson quality sucks or whatever. But when I read the details of what their complaints were, I'm like, that's just a setup. You could have just had the guitar set up and it would have been fine. But I don't get mad about that, because again, I think it's an understanding as a consumer.
Yeah.
When you buy a brand new car, you shouldn't have to do a tune-up on it when you first get it. Well, guitars aren't quite like that. If you bought an Ariel Atom, or if you bought a McLaren P1, then you would go to this place and they would like put you in there and they would fit you to it and they would move the seat where it's supposed to be and they would do all kinds of custom things just for you. It's more like that. That's what a guitar should be. It's custom for you. But I think a lot of people are expecting in Amazon land that you click a button, 2 days later it shows up, it's a brand new thing, it should be perfect. But guitars aren't quite like that.
And to cycle back again, if you went to the local store, played the guitars, chose the one you connected and bonded with, and it felt slightly too high, you could say to the store, I'll take this one. It feels slightly too high. Can you lower the action slightly? They would lower it. You would check it. You'd walk out the store. That's just a downside. I mean, I love Sweetwater. I love buying online, whatever. But that is a thing about buying online. Maury, who I do the show with on Mondays, he's a Martin dealer, and he will offer us custom setup when he sends the guitar out. But I always think about that. You've still got to know about what the setup. You still got to understand what to say to him. Like, can you make it like this? Right. I guess some people might say, can you make it play like an electric guitar? Can you make a really low action or a really high action? But it's very hard to communicate these things online, isn't it? And then once it ships to you, it may change again. So I think the key thing here is to either learn to do it yourself by watching your videos or find someone you trust, which is quite hard to do. I've had some damage done to instruments from people in the past Absolutely awful. I can't believe it. So,
Right.
yeah, I went to a place in, I won't say where it was, obviously, but I went to a place in Manhattan that charged me a fortune to install a pickup into a ukulele. And they left like a ring around it was a brand new instrument, quite an expensive one. They left a ring around the jack where they used a tool to put it in. And they just denied it. And I couldn't believe it. I was so mad, you know. So I never went there again. I found my guy I go to now. I really trust him. He's a one man operation. He does a great job, and he's very honest and does excellent work. And he knows what I like now as well. Even then, he'll do a setup for me. I'll get home and have to go back to him again because it's still not quite right. So I guess ultimately doing it yourself is the ideal situation, but it's a
Yep.
skill that you've got to learn. And it is, you know, it's taken me several years just to get comfortable lowering saddles, adjusting truss rods. I wouldn't feel comfortable right now adjusting electronics or anything like that. But I think, yeah, you should start to learn this stuff gradually, definitely.
Yeah. At least to be able to explain it to somebody else.
Mm.
You know, symptoms. You
Yeah.
know, just like when you go to the doctor, if you can't explain symptoms, it's tough. Like, be able
Yeah.
to explain symptoms, problems, that sort of thing. And when you understand kind of how all the geometry of the guitar works, I like a lot of times people think that that you can just lower the action on an acoustic and make it play like an electric. Well, the problem is that you start to lose some attack when your saddle gets super low and that breakover angle changes. The guitar's simply not as good. It doesn't sound as good, you know. So there's all these various little things to just learn over time, and yeah, that's why I like doing these videos. That's why we do what we do, because I hope more people just play when they know this stuff. You know, it's kind of cool. It's just interesting that as online as everything is trying to be, there are certain industries like this where buying in person is still the thing with certain
Yeah.
stuff. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, well, take these in-ear monitors that I bought. The ones that they demoed at the show had the tips on, like the rubber tip. So you were listening to that. The ones I actually got now don't have the rubber tip. They have the custom molded tip, which I just assumed would be infinitely better. But I'm not digging it as much yet because I think I'm not putting them in right. These are my old ones right now. But it's kind of almost this kind of the same experience in a way, even though it was in person. I didn't try the actual thing. I tried a thing that will be the thing. And that's a bit like
Right.
buying online. You're seeing the actual thing, but there's nothing like having that guitar in your hands, is there? There's just nothing like it. I guess.
Exactly.
Hey, I guess find a place with a good return policy is very important.
It is. That is true. Yeah. I'm going to give these comments a scan and just see if there's any questions in here. I did see Ivan's comment about the split P-bass pickup. 630s should work for that. Over on Patreon, I'll give you some measurements that you can use because you asked that question over on Patreon. Perfect. Let's just see if there's any other. If anybody does have any questions about, you know, guitar setup kind of stuff, people are asking about tools. Do you use Cruise tools? They're my
Cruise
favorite.
tools, yeah,
Yeah, they're my
I
favorite
love
too.
those.
Yeah, yep. I
You know
think
what-
there's a. Go ahead.
What was crazy with that? Sorry, what was crazy with that? This kind of sums it up for me. I had the little, the kind of cheap, basic metal truss rod tool you get. I had that
Yes.
for my Martin guitar. I'll tell this story because it'll help someone. I tried to adjust the truss rod and I couldn't do it. It was like it wasn't moving. I thought it was broken. I thought I was doing it wrong. I felt really pretty stupid. And then I got the Cruise Tools one with the big blue handle on it, and I put it in and it just turned. And I've never had a problem since. That stuff is the good tools is really, really. It sounds so obvious, but these are
Yes.
things that people might not think about. I would compare it to IKEA furniture. So you get that, they give you that little tiny tool that shreds your hands to pieces. If you've just gone out and bought the big professional tool, it would have just flown by. That's really important.
And as the tool wears, there is a potential for you to ruin whatever hardware in your guitar. So that compounds the problem. So you really have to be careful with that. Yeah, cruise tools are the jam. I'm seeing a lot of people have a lot of different experiences with buying online versus not buying online. Some people have had very good experiences buying over and over. What's interesting too is it depends on the brand. So somebody mentioned that they've bought a lot of Harley Benton guitars online and then they've had good experiences with them. Um, I think one of the things too is that different manufacturers of guitars know that their target audience they do a good job of hitting their target audience and designing the guitars for their target audience, and so there are less problems with them. um so Harley Benton Squires, you could probably buy an Affinity Squire or a Classic Vibe Squire off of Amazon or anywhere and get it, and it'll probably be pretty good, and especially for that price point. But then as the price point of the guitar goes up, a lot of times the expectations of the customer changes also with the price point, and so then it becomes more of a variable. So um, beginner guitar players a lot of time, and that level of equipment is it's a lot more even in its quality control because the expectation of the player is a lot more even, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Where with a Gibson, because of image and all kinds of other things, expectation of the player is more all over the place, and so I think that's why you hear more quality control problems buying online, because the expectations aren't as consistent. If that makes sense.
Can I throw something in there along those lines?
Yes,
What
please.
what about expectation as the buyer? That a problem? Like you're surfing online, you're looking at the websites at late at night, as you do, and you find an instrument and you think, oh, I need that. I haven't got that guitar. I need that configuration. That's the one. That's a great deal. And you buy it, and then there's so much, you're waiting 7 days to get it, and there's so much expectation for this thing that adds to that maybe disappointment when you play it. Whereas in a store, maybe you grab something you wouldn't have grabbed and you just love it. Do you think that's the thing? I think that's happened to me in the past.
You know, you probably onto something there too. I have to agree, and I think if when you buy online, there's a lot of more spec buying. So
Mm.
like you read about something in an article or you see a YouTube video and you're like, I have to have that because I like what I heard, I like what I saw. And of course that player plays a certain way, and then you get it and you don't play like that guy. I don't care about how good you are. I just mean you play different. We all play different. So I buy an Eddie Van Halen tribute guitar and I don't sound anything like Eddie Van Halen, and
Mm.
I'm disappointed. Where, like you say, in a store, you walk by and your first impression of that guitar is you playing it. If that makes sense. Like you pull it off the
Mm.
wall and either you connect with it or you don't, instead of hearing someone else's connection with it first and then
Mm.
having an expectation of that while you're waiting the 7 days to get it.
But this is just the way the world is. This is like Amazon now. It feels like yesterday we didn't have Amazon, right? And
Right?
we walk into a. I remember in England there was like if anyone's wondering, I live in New York now, but I used to live in. I came from England, obviously, and I or maybe not, obviously, but I remember just like going to stores and looking at stuff. And they had these catalog stores too. You look through the catalog and they bring it on this conveyor belt, which is almost like Amazon before it went online. And
Really?
yeah, it's called Argos. So you go through his catalog, you find the thing you want, you take a slip of paper, you write the code, you'd hand it to them and pay for it. It would come out on a conveyor belt, and you'd go home.
Oh, wow.
It was like Amazon before the internet. But that was a bad example. But we used to walk up the high street and you'd window shop and you'd see stuff. So this is just modern life, right? Especially with a pandemic. But the Gibson thing is the most interesting to me because not only is it a guitar store, it's a very well done guitar store. I'm not saying there's not other good guitar stores out there, because there are. I mean, look at Groon, right? That's
Yeah.
an amazing experience in there. But I wonder if the other brands will do this as well. Like, do you think there'll be a PRS experience in New York City? Do you think there'll be a Taylor tryouts in Nashville?
I think they should.
Yeah, I do too.
I think everybody should.
Yeah.
I think there should be a showroom where you can go for all those big brands. I think Fender should do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not only for the end user, but for their dealer network. Um, I asked him about that. I was like, "Are there dealers that are mad because you're
Yeah.
doing this?" And
I was thinking that.
he said, "Yeah." But what he told me, this is what he said. He said, "When before we did this, we asked around and we said around the company and we said, is there any guitar store in the world that you can think of that is presenting Gibson as a brand the way we think it should be presented?" And the answer was no. And he said, "Well, then let's do it. Like, let's show how we want it, you know." And especially they're trying to like reinvent themselves while maintaining their legacy. And so doing this was their way to show that to the world. And I think it works. I really do. And I hope Fender does the same thing. I hope Martin does the same. Well, does Martin have a showroom up there? I've never been to that.
You see, I've said this to them. What they have is you're at the factory, which is incredible. Again, that history just like goes into you, and you walk in, and the lady at the front desk is so sweet to you. And there's a few guitars hanging up, like the lower end models. And then you go through the factory tour, which is out of this world, and the museum is out of this world. It's a bit like the thing at the backstage thing at Gibson. But what they don't do is they don't sell you they don't have a room with every guitar. I've told them in the past that is a mistake. Like, I believe at the Martin factory there should be a big room with every current model. There's a small room with several models, like 20 or something. But they haven't got every single model like they do at, say, the NAMM show. Every current model. I think that people would go there just to sit and try all the guitars, wouldn't they? Where you can't do that other places. I think all these companies should have public places where they teach you about the brand and also have one of everything. I know that might be a big ask, but I mean, Gibson are kind of doing it. They had everything in there, didn't they?
Mm-hmm. They
and
did.
the amps as well. They had everything. So I really think at least that the company should at least have a room at their factories where you can play everything and see different necks and really get your hands on the stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Because people are going to do what me and you are doing. And everybody else, like all my YouTube friends and everybody, 60 Cycle Hum and all the guys that I know on YouTube, we've all made videos since we've left that place saying how awesome it is. And all of my friends I've got 3 or 4 friends that are like, I'm driving there. I want to go see this place for myself. So it's working. It's doing what it's supposed to do, for sure. Yeah. You know, so no, I think it's.
Did you hear they've started a record label?
I did.
Well?
I just heard that this week.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they re-signed Kirk Hammett, but that happened today. And then Slash and Miles Kennedy, their new record is coming out on their record label.
Well, they're distributed by like EMI or someone, right? They're just like a front for the back end of it, but
yes,
it's just cool. It's just that rock and I hate to say it, maybe it makes me sound old, but like the rock and roll, right? It's like records and parties and guitars and amps and
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
I don't know.
No, that place did feel very rock and roll, and everybody in there too. Like they all loved what they were doing.
But it didn't feel pretentious. It felt friendly and cool. It did. I was worried. I knew it'd be great, but I was worried it would be like, "Hey, we're Gibson. What are you doing here? You know, we're the best." Kind of. It wasn't like that. It was just like confident but classy and friendly. They got that balance just right, and that's really hard to do.
Yeah,
really hard.
I think it's cool, and I think that. I hope that other people do it. And I hope I'm a little bit, I run an online business, right? And I've run an online business for a long time. And since before YouTube, I mean, since 2005, I've done e-commerce. And I am of the opinion that if you are a local brick and mortar place, your job is to figure out how to function in 2021. The internet is not putting you out of business. You are not keeping up with the way the world is. And I think Gibson is trying to figure that out. And I think they're going to be okay. And I hope that other guitar dealers, not just Gibson people, but every local guitar store, starts to look at this and say, you know, we need a YouTube channel and an Instagram. We need a good split between online sales and in-store sales, and a good in-store experience. And you know, when I walk into a guitar store, I'll tell you in 2 seconds whether I think that place is going to be there in 5 years. Like, it's so easy to tell. And I hope that more local guitar stores figure it out. I hope they do.
Yeah, some guitar stores are just a bit crappy, aren't they? They're not friendly. They're not. They've got that arrogance about them, especially some that I've been to.
Yes.
Or they're too busy, or in the wrong place, and there's too many people in there, and you can't hear. And, yeah, there's a lot of factors there.
I feel like more so it's an inaccessibility. One of my biggest complaints about the guitar business in general, and this comes from being in it and working in it, and also being a player since I was 6 years old, is I feel like there's too much focus on what level of a guitar player you are. So how long have you been playing and what do you have now should not be questions that a guitar salesman should ask. Because I think that it shouldn't matter. Like, I've been playing all my life. If I want to buy a Squire, I'm going to buy a Squire, or I'm going to buy a McPherson, both ends of the spectrum. And this whole thing about like a beginner guitar player, you know, those stupid memes about like, you know, he spent $3,500 for a guitar and he doesn't really know how to play or whatever. I think that's all bullcrap, because
I mean, it does happen.
it
Especially
does.
in New York, it happens regularly.
And I think that's totally okay, because aspirations are a real thing. And aspirations are what rock stars are made of. Like, you should be able to dream. I had a white Lamborghini Countach on my wall when I was a kid, even though I don't have one now. I may someday, but I don't right now. Like, I can still dream about that. And so I think a little kid going in and being interested in something he can't have right now, but still being able to dream about it, instead of the guitar store being like, here comes a young person, here's the toy guitars. Like, and I feel like that pretentiousness happens. I feel like there's too much of a class system almost based on how you dress, you know, do you dress like a rock star, or do you, you know, whatever. But I don't know. I don't like any of that. I think anybody should be able to dream whatever they want.
I wasn't thinking of that. I was thinking like in New York City, a lot of people go to Manhattan and buy 10,000 guitars because they work in the city. They have the money simply for that reason. Here's another question for you then. So
Okay.
prices have gone up, right? I heard a lot of
Yes.
people talking at NAMM about shipping is a nightmare. They've doubled, tripled, quadrupled the prices on
Yep.
shipping, parts, and then so many guitars got sold, didn't they, last year especially?
Yes.
Fender had their best year ever. All prices go up anyway, but prices have gone up even more.
Yes.
So what do you think about that? I mean, I wonder if it's going to stop, and like new players, are they going to be able to afford those high-end guitars? And also the lower price guitars are really impressive now as well, aren't they?
So, yes. I was talking to the guys at reverend, and they were saying that their shipping costs are going up so exponentially that the prices of the guitars are going to have to change. Like it's a reality. But this goes back again, in my opinion, to this whole caste system of guitarists. There are very few bad guitars. I don't care about price point. This new Affinity series by Fender, the Squires, that have just come out at $249, that is going to be a good guitar. And I think one of the things that I'm trying to focus on this channel, you and I talked about how we handle reviews a little bit when we were in NAMM or in Nashville. But what I'm really trying to do is trying to show people that there's no such thing as a bad guitar. We just need to understand who each guitar is marketed for and hope that that guitar gets put into the right customer's hands and those right expectations are met and everything is fine. So that beginner guitar players can be confident that for $249 they can buy this new series of Squier Tellys and Strats, and they can learn on that guitar, and that can be a stepping stone to their next one or whatever. But it is a guitar that they can actually afford, because a lot of people are told, so, well, I see it all the time, like, no, don't buy that. That's a piece of junk. What you really need is this. Well, if that guitar player can't afford that, then all of a sudden he's discouraged and doesn't play at all. When in reality, that $249 guitar is probably great for him and an excellent jumping off point into the hobby. So I think we as guitar players can do a lot in how we encourage others to play and what gear they pick, which is another thing we try to do on the channel, because put a reality to it, you know.
I think low end stuff is great. I mean, what is low end now? And you know, you change the strings and set it up like we were talking about. Yeah, that's probably better than an expensive guitar that's not set up properly. So I've got no problem with that.
When you were a kid, was a $200? I mean, when I was a kid, a $200 guitar wasn't even. You couldn't play it. It was terrible.
Oh yeah, quality has definitely massively, and also due to the way they produce things now, and things are more consistent, and the quality of everything has come up. Definitely, yeah, definitely.
Yes.
I know sometimes you pay a lot of money for. I mean, the relict, I call it relicking, they call it aging. Those Martins that we saw, the authentics, the one without, the one with the relicking or aging is $1,000 more. Sometimes you pay for stuff you don't even need, or sometimes you pay for a downgrade. That's a bit extreme statement, but you know what I'm trying to say.
I do.
You know, the vintage pickups might be low output and buzzy, where the ones in the budget guitar might be kind of better in a way. So, some of it. Let's face it. Once you get to a certain level, I'm going to say around $1,000, you're paying for brand, for specs, for features, and things like that.
So check this out. So I screenshotted this just so I could share it. I did a survey knowing that you and I were going to talk about this week, so I'm glad this came up. I did a survey on my channel, and I said, what is the most that you are willing to pay for a guitar? And I didn't mean that you could afford right now. I just mean, what is your mental block that you are willing to pay for a guitar? So check this out. This is 1,100 participants in this.
Oh wow!
And look at that.
Let me see that. So 28%. Yeah, that's what I said. 1,000 to 1,500. That's the sweet spot, I think.
But what I found interesting is that is a fairly shallow curve. I thought that the 500 or less was going to be tons of them. I thought that the cheaper guitars are going to be really, really high, and that the most expensive guitars are going to be really, really low. And except for that 1,000 to 1,500 range, it's pretty even.
That is interesting. Because the 500 or less, I asked some people at the venue I used to play at, I was going to do some online lessons, and I wanted to recommend a guitar. And I said to people there, what would you pay for a guitar as a learner? And they said, oh, $100, 200. These are not guitarists. These are total beginners. So a total beginner that knows nothing about guitars is going to say $100, $200, $300. Now, I might be wrong, but I'm going to assume that you haven't got total beginners watching your channel. I'm assuming most people are kind of somewhere in the middle. So that makes sense to me that they want to spend 500 to 1500. You know what I mean? You know,
Interesting, right?
I don't want to come across wrong, but you haven't got like brand new players watching your channel. You've got people that have been playing for a little bit, I assume. I'm just guessing. And I think that is the sweet spot. And I think people that have been playing for a while know that 500 to 1500 bucks is the price you pay for a really great instrument. And once you go over that, it's because you want to. Like that again, bring it back to that Martin that we saw. That's like $8,000. And only someone like me, I call myself a sound hole sniffer, because only someone like that would want to sniff that sound hole. Let me just plug the t-shirt.
That's right.
Sniff that sound hole, say, oh, well, this is aged with this thing, and this is this wood. And Monday we were discussing Addy versus Sitka, and real, like, you know, geeky.
Yeah.
Let's face it, it's pretty geeky. It's like you're
Nerdy
a guitar,
stuff.
you're a guitar nerd. Yeah, exactly. So that's the kind of person that even looks at those higher end instruments, and they usually know that they're putting money into a name or a brand or specs.
Right.
That $1,500 price gets you an amazing instrument, really.
Yes.
If we're being honest about it.
Yep. I just thought that survey and experiment was interesting. Because it was a lot flatter than I thought. I thought it would be really peaky in the cheaper end. And you know, because obviously you and I are both, you would be willing to spend more than $2,500 on the right guitar, and I would as well. But I'm also not one to discount any of the lower price stuff either. Like, I'll buy anything. It doesn't matter. I'll play whatever. But if I'm going to buy something for me that I'm going to keep for a long time, I find value in certain weird things, like you say. You know, it's not just and it's usually not a brand thing as much as it is for me an experience. Like, I bought that Gibson because that guitar, that particular guitar, and the single pickup Junior have just always been kind of a holy grail guitar for me. Like, it's just been a thing since I was young. That those have been on the list. You know, I have a list, and that guitar was on it. My acoustic guitar, I bought because I wanted a McPherson, and the other McPhersons are $13,000. So this was the closest one that I could afford, and we live in a motorhome, so it made sense because it was carbon fiber, you know. So, but at those price points, you kind of have a reason, right? It's not just a guitar at that point. You have a reason at that point.
Yeah, I always wanted a Sonic Blues Strat. That's why I got this one from Sweetwater.
I saw that.
Yeah, I love that guitar. I want to ask you a question because I've been thinking about this a lot. Right, I love Strats. I love the single coil pickups. So in this guitar, it's the Custom Shop 69s, which sound really chimey, really vintage. They're great, but they were noisy as heck in every position when I got it. I had that Illich system installed. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yep.
And it really did a great job. Like, it's not completely silent, but it's really like knocked that hum and buzz right down. And I've been looking at other Strats lately because I've been through this whole thing lately of like, oh, should I sell my 3 Strats and just get one, like, you know, I say amazing one. That's of course all subjective anyway, and maybe that's not going to happen. Same with acoustics. Should I sell all my acoustics and just get one? But what is amazing? I don't think that even. I don't think the perfect guitar even exists.
That's tough, yeah.
But it made me think with this one, I don't even want to look at other Strats because they're not going to have that Illich system in it. And
so you really like that thing?
I don't. In a way, I don't. And just to finish the story, my other Strat is completely silent in the middle positions because of the hum cancelling, but quite noisy in the other 3, the 1, 3, 5. This thing has a bit of noise on each one, but greatly, nothing noticeable, greatly reduced. So it just made me think, like, should I look at noiseless pickups? I've tried them in the past, not really enjoyed them. And then does that now mean I'm not going to look at any other Strat because they're all going to have noise? Has that kind of spoiled it for me? What are your thoughts on single coils? I mean, do some people think that that's like a good thing, like it should be there?
See, I'm a P90 guy, so noisy pickups to me don't bother me at all. And I like Strats like that's a Strat and a Tele are probably a Strat and a Tele and a P90 guitar. Those are like my favorites before any humbucker guitar ever. Um, and what you'll find, the reason is your guitar is that way is because those 69 pickups that you have probably are not noise can't. They probably aren't reverse wound, reverse polarity
They're
in the
not,
middle.
no, no.
And so, believe it or not, this is something I've been kind of doing some research on a lot lately. Like a lot of the older designs, and a lot of the custom shop designs, and I've been doing a lot of research on that lately. The majority of them are not reverse wound, reverse polarity. Most of them are straight, straight, straight.
Wow.
Stevie Ray Vaughan, Gary Moore, Jimmy Vaughan, all of those pickups, they're all straight. They're not reverse wound, reverse polarity. And nobody really. Well, Stevie Ray put a noise canceling coil in his guitar.
Oh, he did. That's
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah, it was just a half of a P bass bobbin.
Mm.
But other than that, because his guitar was really noisy, really, really noisy. But most guitars are just gonna be that way, and I think it depends on the environment. Like you play a lot with headphones or in ears with an aux box, right? So you're gonna hear everything. You know what I mean?
That's a good point, because maybe if you're playing in a band and there's all that ambient noise around you, it doesn't
Yeah.
really matter. But when you're
Yeah.
playing in an apartment and listening to every little, the amps right next to you, listen to every
Yeah.
little detail,
Yeah.
you hear absolutely everything. Yeah, that is probably a lot of it, to be honest as well. Yeah, no, I get that.
I have to
But-
tell myself that because I'm the same way. I have a Marshall amp that I record DI out because I live in a motorhome. I can't go full volume either, and so it's the same thing. And I'm always like, why is this so noisy? And I'm like, no, wait a minute. If I turn this up a little bit and play like I'm supposed to play, I don't even think about it. But yeah, when you're isolated like that, it's tough.
I'm just wondering, like has that spoiled strats for me in the future? Like if I find one I love and it doesn't have that in there, because the in between positions are quieter than that, and it also makes me wonder if that's a good purchase, because that is just a dummy coil essentially, right? That's like
Yes.
a $500 upgrade to a guitar.
Yeah.
That's something you have you done a video on that on your channel?
No, in fact, I've been messing around with dummy coils lately, and I haven't done a video on it yet. And I actually just I sold a telly to one of my customers, and he put that system in it, and he actually had me want, because we all of our like our telly pickups are wound reverse polarity, and so I put a set of straight wound stuff in it so he could use that. And he sent me some recordings, and that was the first experience I'd ever had with one of those, and they're really cool. It's really good, and it
It is good.
doesn't,
It works.
and
Does
it
work.
doesn't do much to the tone. Like
No.
it doesn't, it flattens it a little bit, but not as much as I thought it was going to.
I don't think it does, because I had the Fender Noises pickups for a while, and they had a lot of high end missing, and
Yes.
then the old generation anyway, and then I got this thing in there, and I made a video about it before and after, and I'm pretty sensitive to this stuff, and I couldn't hear any difference. I just wonder if it's worth it, because let me get your opinion if it's worth it for viewers. $500 to get yourself an almost silent guitar, okay? And here's the thing, with most Strats now, the in-between positions are silent anyway, more silent than that. So you've got 2 of the 5 there actually better without the system, or you don't need it. And then if you've got a humbucker, you're fine in the bridge position. If you don't, you've got some noise on the first one, the middle one, and the humbucker, the bridge position. So for just to have those 3 positions, not have that hum and buzz, $500, I don't think it's worth it. What do you think?
I know a few people in studio situations that are really, really concerned about hum.
Yeah.
And I also know a few people that play in like worship situations. So there are some folks that play in environments where they don't have control over how noisy it is. The client that I just had that we did this for, and he put that system in it, he played in a church that was so noisy all the time that it was just compounded by playing a single coil guitar, and so he kind of like had to have it. I think that set of people that really need that is pretty small, and I think the majority of folks won't know the won't it won't be cost effective for the majority of folks unless you're in a special situation where it's real bad. That would be my, or very critical to noise. I got a buddy in Nashville that he does a lot of studio stuff, and I built him a cigar box guitar one time with P90s in it, and he had me line the entire thing with copper and ground it all because he like wanted it super super quiet. I mean that, there are some people that really really want that, but
should I have tried that? Should I have tried that first though before I spent the money on the system? I probably should.
Shielding your pickguard does a lot. It does on a Strat because the pickguard's so big. It does a lot.
Yeah.
You don't need to go crazy going in all the cavities and doing all. But if you shield the pickguard and ground it, that really helps a lot.
Why don't companies do that? Just expense?
Some of the higher end Fenders are shielded.
Yeah, the custom shops would be shielded. I'd imagine they'd be shielded, right?
Because they have it's actually a thin steel thing that goes underneath it. Like a custom shop Jazzmaster, for example, comes with it. Some custom shop Strats do. So yeah, you have to pay for it. But what I tell people to do, and I think there's a link in the description of all of our videos to some copper foil tape that you get on Amazon, and it's actually for keeping slugs out of your garden. But the glue is conductive. So you just have to put it on the back of your pickguard, cut it out with an X-Acto knife, and just make sure it's grounded, and you're good. You don't have to solder anything. You don't have to do anything. And it works awesome. And it's cheap. The stuff from StewMac is very expensive. But this stuff's like, I don't know, $12 for a roll that'll last you forever. So that's what I recommend to people.
That's worth trying. It's like the springs. I've been putting foam in the springs to stop the sympathetic vibrations. Someone said on one of my videos the other day, why don't they put like a piece of foam on the back of the plate, and then when you put it in, it will stop that. I don't know. I assume companies like Fender say, well, we want to be true to vintage spec, and then some brands don't want to spend the extra money. And then, like you said earlier, this is the kind of stuff we need to learn to do ourselves, because if you take that to someone in Manhattan, they're going to charge you $200 to do that anyway, and that's an easy fix.
What I would say is experiment with that. So I have always been a guy that doesn't put any stuff in my springs, and I actually don't put the cover on the back of the guitar either. I always leave the cover off.
Yeah, I like that.
I just like how it looks. So when we were building custom guitars, I wouldn't even drill the holes. Like, I just like it without it. However, I was having a conversation with somebody who really knows lots and lots and lots about how Fender guitars were designed. And I really respect his knowledge base. And he told me, he said, no, put the cover back on, because when you're playing it, your clothes will mute those strings and it will change how that Strat sounds. He's like, those springs, when they move back, because he said, like on a Telly, everything's hard, but on a tremolo guitar, the springs now they're not directly in the tonal area. Like the tonal area is from the saddles to the nut, right? But because everything is interactive and those springs are allowing that pivot, he's like, then all of that becomes part of the vibration area of the guitar. And so muting that will change how responsive the guitar is in certain situations. Will everybody notice it? Maybe not. But certain people will. Like, so whether you mute those strings or not. So he's like, put the cover on it so that you don't, like, when it's up against your body, you're not affecting how the guitar sounds. And he's like, that's why when you change the tone block from pot metal to brass, the guitar sustain and stuff legitimately changes
I
because
thought that.
that's it goes all the way around that corner, down that block, through those strings back to the body. That's kind of all vibrating when you're playing a Strat.
Mm.
Which I hadn't thought of in that way either. And I was like, that's a pretty critical point. Like, you'd have to really listen for that. And like I said, maybe not everybody will hear it, but it is a thing for some people.
I think didn't I hear it was originally done for like a dust cover? Wasn't that the original intention, just to keep dirt out of that compartment?
I don't know.
I think that's what I heard, but what you're saying makes sense. I often take it off, like John Mayer's signatures have it off, and I find it's easier to restring. Sometimes those holes don't line up, so it's easier just to have it off all the time. But I don't like when the holes are in there. Like on the John Mayer signature, they don't put the holes. That's cool. I like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, they didn't before he went to PRS, but the PRS doesn't have them on there either.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting stuff. Dude, we have gone an hour and 20 minutes. We usually go about this long.
That's fine. No, that's good.
Dude,
it's good. I'm glad we got to meet at NAMM, and I'm glad we got to connect. And
yeah.
you know, we should do one of these on my channel as well, and just talk. I mean, we could talk
Heck yeah.
forever about this stuff, right? Just like general
Yeah.
guitar maintenance and opinions on buying and selling and the industry and stuff like that. It'd be good.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you use StreamYard or something too?
I'm using it now. I use this thing Ecamm Live because I use a Mac.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we like that. So me and so Maury's here. Maury's Music was here. He does does streams as well. He's someone that did that too. He was selling online. Had a store where you could book an appointment to check out guitars. As soon as lockdown happened, we kind of did it together. Like I started doing stuff online. He started doing stuff. We both started using the same software. We started chatting because we saw we were both using the same software in the same group together. And then he's like doing like he'll do a thing where if you want to check out an HD 28 and he's got it in stock, he'll do a live stream with that guitar for you, and then you can say to him, "Oh, play the Beatles on that guitar. Let me hear how I would sound." And then show me, take some close-up pictures, hold it up to the camera, put a capo on the 8th fret. That we were talking about that earlier, right? That's really cool stuff. Still not like playing the actual guitar, and that's why you have a return policy or whatever. But that's what you were talking about earlier with the stores moving more online. That's a great
making
example.
an effort, like just really making an effort to do that. That's awesome.
Well, he does. He goes live almost every day from his store.
That's
And
great.
I've not seen many stores doing that. A lot of stores have started channels because everyone else they're trying to be like Andertons and Sweetwater. They're all doing it, but not many stores are actually doing it. I love that idea of you pick the guitar and I'll go live with it on a live stream, either public or private, and then you can ask me questions about that guitar and I'll play things on that guitar. That's really bridging that gap between actually being able to play the thing yourself, right? That's really cool.
You just gave me an idea. So I'm next week going to put a new P90 in my Gibson. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to do a live stream where we hook up everything and have, audio properly from the DI out of the amp and all that through the pedal board and everything. Because I can do all that too. And have that all set up and then go live. Because everybody wants to know about my P90s because those are the only pickups that I brag about. Like they're really, 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 really good.
They're your pickups, right?
Yes, they're mine. Yeah, okay. Yeah, my P90s. Yep. So I'll put one in that and then do a live stream. And yeah, when somebody says, "Well, can you play it clean? What do the lower strings sound like? What do the higher strings sound like? Can you put a little? I've got a clone here. I've got a DNM drive, a couple different types of drives, a couple different, some compression, like, and so people can understand how does it hit the amp, does it break up early, all those things that you want to know about a pickup and try to create that experience. That's a great idea, and I should do that really with.
Does it have any buzz? Can you adjust the buzz in each position?
Yeah, like how loud is it? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Maybe I should do that with every
That's a great idea.
It is.
Great idea.
I mean, I'm stealing it. I'm stealing it from Maury's Music. Thank you so much for the idea.
Everyone should do it. I wonder if they will. Like, I want to hear that. It's actually a serious question. Say I'm interested in a Strat. All pickups have different amounts of hum and buzz, right? Well, I guess it depends on the room you're in, to be fair. but
True.
at least you could get some sort of idea. Like I've received guitars in the past where, like I said, where every position had noise, and I was expecting that the in-betweens to be silent, and they weren't. And I hadn't
Right.
read the spec, and I got it, and then I was like freaking out because I had all this noise. So yeah, that stuff is useful, you know.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's a great idea. I'm gonna do that. I'll probably do that in the next couple of weeks once we get that pickup in that guitar. And
Just tell me about. I've never had a P90 guitar. So P90s are like single coil humbuckers, right?
well, they're actually pre-humbucker. They're what Gibson put in basically every guitar until Seth Lever invented the humbucker. So what they are is they are a single. So you know how a humbucker, the bobbin is about a 1/4 inch tall.
Mm.
So how the humbucker happened is the P90 is actually 10,000 winds of 42 gauge wire on one bobbin, one big bobbin that is a 1/4 inch tall. And it's got a row of screws in the middle, and it's got 2 humbucker magnets on the bottom, not 1, 2. So it's got a lot of magnet. It's actually hotter than any PAF humbucker. They're really hot pickups. So when they said we need to make a humbucker pickup, Seth Lever said, well, what we need to do is we need to take the windings, we need to split them, wire them out of phase with each other, and put a magnet underneath. So they said, okay, well, we'll put 5,000 winds on this one and 5,000 winds on this one. Since the P90 was 10,000, we'll just split it in half onto 2 bobbins. Boom, you have a PAF. That's basically what happened. So a P90 is there's a lot more juice there because there's a lot more magnet and a lot more coil in one place, a lot more inductance. It's my favorite. But what I like about it is, especially in this junior, and people argue with me about it all the time, is I like a single pickup guitar because it teaches you the interaction. Like if you so I've got this Origin 20 Marshall. So it's a 20 watt amp with EL84s in it. And it's real easy to set it at the edge of breakup and then have, your DNM drive on just the boost side and get that thing breaking up real nice with both volume and tone on 10, but then be able to understand the interaction of how the pickup hits the amp and be able to roll the volume off a little bit, it cleans up a little bit, and then turn your tone knob down and make it sound more like a neck pickup. There's so much you can do with a single pickup guitar at one volume and one tone with a low wattage amp that it teaches you all those dynamics and how the guitar works all together, instead of just being a guy who plays with everything on 10 all the time and a whole pedal board full of stuff and not really understanding all those interactions. So that's what draws me to this guitar, because I don't know, it's just a really expressive and you learn a lot with it.
Next time we meet, I'll have to try your pickups for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I was just thinking of something quickly. I changed them. I have a telly with 2 humbuckers in it, and I replaced the stock ones with Regal humbuckers from Lola.
Oh, those things are so good.
Another expensive upgrade I like to do. And they were really noisy. So are they like P90s, or are they actual true humbuckers? Because they were really noisy. I remember my tech here shielded that guitar, and it made one silent and one still has a bit of noise. But they were really noisy, and they're labeled as humbuckers. So why would that happen if it's a humbucker?
They are humbuckers. They're real hot, and I don't know if they're wax potted or not. Those are really amazing pickups, but yeah, they are noisy, and I don't know why. I don't know why
weird,
that
right?
is.
So not all humbuckers are silent. So all pickups are kind of different.
It depends on how they're wound, yeah, because if one has more wire on it than the other, because a lot of people will play with putting, the whole legend of the original PAF where one bobbin had 400 or 500 winds on it more than the other one, and that's all legend, but because it was all an accident really, but so it could be a little noisier if there's a differentiation between coils where it's not the same, and because that does something to the tone too. It also gives it a better mid-range poke, which those Regals have. So, there's a lot of different goofing around that you can do, but it will affect that kind of stuff. Yeah.
I never A-B'd them. That's one guitar sentimental value that I never sold because my mother got it for me from America when I was living in England, and I just always felt I actually don't like the neck on that guitar. It's quite chunky, but I used it for a long time, and I just thought the pickups just sounded a bit woofy and a bit uninspiring. So I said to someone, "What can I do?" And they said, "Get some lollas." They're so expensive, but they're awesome. And
They
then
are
he
good.
he put them in, and I played it on the stream the other week, and everyone was like, "Wow, it sounds great." I'm like, "Yeah." Like the pickups are so important. But I love single coils, but that whole noise thing is I'm still trying to decide. Like I said, isn't this gear thing funny? Like I used to have Strats and never thought about this, and then once you hear it, you don't. It's like that noise of the. People think I'm crazy talking about the spring noise. They think I'm just insane. But once you hear it, then it's a problem. Then you
Yeah.
start sticking foam in all your guitar.
Yeah, exactly. No, I get it. Thanks, Aaron, for being with us. Everybody that watches this, please go subscribe to Aaron's channel because he
Let
has.
him say the name of it. People are asking.
Oh, it's Aaron Short Music, right?
Like on the
Yeah.
screen, just type in
Yep.
Aaron Short Music on YouTube. Yeah.
Aaron Short Music. It is absolutely. I love his channel, and just make sure you do that. Make sure you go and watch it, because you just started this a couple years ago, right? Like it's not.
Well, my grief is I started buying gear around 2015, 2014, and I didn't make videos. I had some really cool stuff. I had the original John Mayer Martin guitar. They made 404. I had one. I made no videos, and I sold it. So, and I had a few guitars. I went through a ton of gear, and I then realized I could be making videos out of this. And I then had the ability to because I had a room to do it in, and that's why I started the channel. I really only went into I really only kicked it off during the lockdown because I'm a full-time performer. I was playing like 3 or 4 gigs a week in Manhattan. Everywhere shut down, so I was like, right, I'll just make videos and I'll start live streaming. I love live streaming. I mean, like my live stream tonight was a bit of a disaster because I was giving impressions on headphones, which no one can actually hear. But even that experience of just hanging out, I don't know how it is to the viewer sometimes with that stuff. Maybe it's boring. I worry it's boring, but just that it's real, isn't it? Like,
Yes.
hey, I just got this thing, and I'm going to tell you if I just wasted my money or not. And we didn't even talk about the review thing tonight, but hey, at least it's real, right? You can see on my face, and you can hear what I'm saying. It's not like I've waited 3 weeks and then thought of a way to say it. This is just this is it. And I like that. It can be a bit dangerous. It's a bit like I said with the guitar, like you have these expectations with a live stream. I don't think I've ever unboxed anything on a live stream and liked it. There's something in the back of my mind, like there's going to be a problem there, because there's so much pressure on you to like, you want it, what you really want to happen. And maybe this is like the reviews. What you really want to happen is you get something, you adore it, and you go online and say, this is wonderful. This has changed my world. Because of course that's what we want from everything we buy or review or live stream about, right? But there's always those things that are not like that. And I think it's good to put that out there. I'm just trying to help people. Like I said, I've never done this before, and I'm trying to put that journey down. You told me the whole thing about the acoustics, like going through them and maybe selling them all, getting one or getting a different one. You told me at the Guitar Center, like just journal that, because people are on the same journey as you. We're really just making diary entries here, aren't we, of our journey with all this stuff. And that's why it's so nice to talk to you about it, because you've been on the same journey as me, but a slightly different path. Right. And I can ask you stuff about your pickups and my experiences with that, and you can ask me stuff about my experience with acoustic and singing, whatever. So it's just I've really enjoyed tonight. It's been great. I'd love to have you on my channel, and we should definitely do some more of these in the future.
For sure.
Think of a theme, or even have people vote on a theme, and then just discuss that for an hour. It'd be great.
That is a great idea. If we have everybody vote on something, that's a great idea. Yeah.
Because we didn't even cover the reviews tonight, so we'll save that for next time.
Okay. Awesome. No, that's great. Because I think people need to understand how, they won't get a picture for how everybody on YouTube does reviews, but we can definitely, I think it's important that people understand how I do them and how you do them. as a trust factor, because you
Mm.
want to build that trust that you're not just shilling products for somebody, that you
Right.
do have a method to make sure that it is genuine,
Mm.
and those things are important. So yeah, we'll talk about that when maybe on your channel we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
will get on my channel and tell everybody to come over and watch. And
Yeah. It'd be
no, it'd be
great.
awesome, man.
Okay.
Thanks so much. And thanks everybody else for watching. Thanks for the super chats that we got earlier. I appreciate that. Make sure you check out his channel, and make sure you check out the other stuff that we've got going. I built I bought the cheapest LED acrylic Stratocaster on eBay.
I saw that. That looks awesome.
Yes, I finished it today, and
Mm.
I actually, when we get done here, I'm gonna go outside and take some B-roll in the dark and add that to the final edit and upload it so that tomorrow you guys will be able to see the conclusion of the LED acrylic Strat project. That video will come out tomorrow afternoon. So, thanks for hanging out, everybody. This has been awesome, and I hope you all have a good day.
Thank you.
We'll see
Good
y'all
night.
later.
See you next time.